Well, hello students. This Friday is another um, online learning week, but as you know, 50 minutes twice a week or even 3 times a week doesn't really get a lot of things covered. So um, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever the case is, you got to spend a little bit more time working in your groups and individually and keeping up with the chapters. Once you get into a routine, it shouldn't all be that bad. Given that, in my class on Fridays, unless there's a case study, you're pretty much on your own time or when you want to get together, reviewing your projects or working on the assignments. Well, what I want to put in this video cam is and I know I've already done this, but I want to do kind of another little quick review of chapters 1 and 2 and then look ahead to chapter 3. In chapters 1 and 2, in chapter 1, we defined the economic climate. We talked about what is needed for managers to be proficient in 21st century management. We learned how important it is to have a strong leadership role in management, and that information not only flows from the top down, it flows from the bottom up, and we have more of a participative / democratic style of management, considering the types of economic climates we have, where most companies, even if they are domestically located, they have business dealings for both inputs and outputs, which you talked about in class. And that is basically related to creating value. So I think what we need to pay a lot of attention to is how do we create value, although located domestically in a global economic climate. And we talked a lot about that. And then going into chapter 2, we talked a lot about the different theories: classical theory, behavioral theory, and neoclassical or modern management. Earlier this week, we went a little bit deeply into some of theorists such as McGregor, Maslow, Hertzberg, Fayol, and of those individuals that largely contributed to creating a culture in an organization beyond just the skill set, starting with scientific management and then working our way into behavior and then into systems. I want you to review all of that, and the hypothetical is due on the 24th, and you could certainly take the next week to upload that. And that hypothetical is on an individual assignment. Now, talking about your groups and what you're doing so far, again, to reinforce and reiterate, what you are doing in groups is extremely important. Working with your team leads and making sure that the projects that you're working on are on target of where you want to be. And of course, you know that you can reach out to me, 617-842-2856. Don't send me snail mail. I get to it, but I don't get to it as frequently as I could if you were working as a team. And those of you that have used this method before know I can get to you quite quickly, answer questions, and you can put it all together much more easily. So working in your individual strengths and what part or what component of the project you are taking into your particular research is what you're embellishing on week to week. And that's going to manifest itself into perhaps 4 or 5 pages by the end of the semester, and then that would work into your PowerPoints for your final. So that's another thing that you want to work on. Going into week 4, we're going to be talking about chapter 3 in detail. And it's a very important chapter because what it talks about is ethics and social responsibility. We want to understand what ethical behavior is, and we want to know what we do when ethical dilemmas should arise. How can a company establish and maintain ethical standards? And then we're going to talk about what social responsibility is and corporate governance. So, in this particular chapter, looking into next week, you want to define what ethics is, and you want to look at different types of ethics, the 4 alternative views of ethics. And we want to also pay special attention to contrasting cultural relativism with universalism. You want to also look into Kohlberg stages of moral development. And most importantly, how do ethics intensify influences ethical decision making? And then you want to also list 4 common rationalizations for unethical behavior. So these are things that we're going to kind of look at going into next week. And as I said earlier, this is a very important chapter. And that's it. So to reiterate real quickly, review chapters 1 and 2, take the individual test, which is 5 to 6 paragraphs, double-spaced, preferably APA, with at least 3 references from different sources. You also want to look ahead to chapter 3 and continue working on your projects. Again, on Fridays you take attendance just as if you were in a class. And I want to see the evolution of those projects, and I will check with you week to week on where you are. Spend a few minutes on doing that on Wednesday of the given week. Okay, that's it.